What is up, guys? Welcome back to another episode of Paul Talks Patriots. We got Mock Draft 2.0 this week, and strap in because it is a doozy. Starting off in the first round, we've been seeing a lot of rumors of the Patriots maybe going a different route than what seemed like us being locked into draft Drake May 3rd overall. This mock draft, I'm going to go the trade route. So, the Vikings, desperate to keep their franchise afloat, Justin Jefferson on the verge of requesting a trade. The Vikings trade up to the 3rd overall pick, but they're not going to get it easy. We're going to be asking for a lot for them to move up. So the final trade I went with was the Vikings receiving the 3rd overall pick, the Patriots receiving the 11th overall pick, the 23rd overall pick, a 4th round pick this year, and a 2025 first round pick with a 2025 3rd round pick. Now, if you compare this to the trade that the 49ers and Dolphins made a couple years ago when the 49ers traded up for Trey Lance, the Niners were sitting at 12th overall and traded 3 first-rounders and a 3rd rounder. Now, the Vikings are a spot ahead at 11, but, we're not going to go away easily. As Gerard Mayo said, we want a bag for the 1st overall pick, so I threw in an extra 4th round pick there. But we're not finished. Now we sit with the 11th and 23rd overall pick in the 1st round, but we want a cornerstone blue chip left tackle that we can have years into the future, knowing he can solidify the blind side for whoever our future quarterback is. So, I had another trade up with the Titans. The Patriots received the 7th overall pick, and the Titans received the 11th overall pick, our 3rd round pick this year, which is 68th overall. And then, if you look at the trade value charts that are online, you can find them. That's an even trade as far as draft value goes, but just like we were with the Vikings, the Titans are going to want a little bit more in order to move back. So I had us swapping our 5th round pick with their 6th round pick next year. So basically, they just get an earlier pick later in the rounds. All right, well, now that that's settled, the Patriots are picking at pick 7 overall in the 1st round. And with that, they're drafting Joe Alt, left tackle out of Notre Dame. Did I force this pick? Maybe. But this guy is phenomenal. He's also massive, standing at 6'9", weighing in at 320 pounds. He's an overall athlete. For his size, he moves very well. He fits any scheme that you can think of in the National Football League. And great moving, can get to the 2nd level, can pull from the tackle position across the line, can get out for screens. And really, he can be a Pro Bowl caliber player as soon as he steps onto the field. All he really needs to work on, and this is very minuscule, it's just refining his technique a little bit with his hand placement and his posture. Sometimes he can find himself off balance, leaning forward too much. But other than that, this guy is a perennial left tackle in the NFL. Now, with round 1, pick 23, we find that X receiver we've been looking for. That would be A.D. Mitchell out of Texas, the wide receiver. A.D. Mitchell stands at 6'2", 205 pounds. He ran a blazing 4.3440 at the combine. Extremely good 40 time. He's a great deep threat, and what makes him so good as a deep threat is his ability to change speed as he's route running. It's tough for defenders to figure out if he's running a vertical, if he's running a hitch, if he's running a little in route, whatever it may be. He's good at changing speeds, shifting gears to get open. Now, aside from this, he does need to work on his footwork a little bit. It's not the worst. It's definitely not the best. If he can work on his footwork, it will make him all the more better of a route runner. Along with that, he doesn't really love contact. He's never going to lower his shoulder, or very rarely, and fight for extra yards. And he can take some plays off if he knows he's not getting the ball. But hey, Randy Moss did the same thing, and look how he ended up. So, with your first round, you get your cornerstone left tackle, you get your receiver that you have been lacking for so long. You also get a 2025 first round pick and a fourth round pick this year and a third round pick next year. Sounds pretty good to me, I think. Now, moving into round 2, currently sitting at 34, but Elliott Wolf doesn't really like what's sitting here available, and he calls up his old buddies in Green Bay. Green Bay has a plethora of picks this year, close to a dozen, and they get really aggressive because they just made a nice run in the playoffs and want to improve their team. So what happens here? The Packers move up in the draft, get our 34th overall pick. We move back to 41st and also get another 4th round pick this year, which is pick 126. What do the Patriots do there? This is a little surprising, probably, but they draft Trey Benson, running back out of FSU. This guy is a tank. He's 6 foot tall, 215, and he has speed. Ran a 4.39 40 at the combine. He likes to lower his shoulder. He likes to be a bruiser. He's not going to be wicked shifty. He's going to run straight through you with brute force. He excels fast. He sees a little opening and boom, he's down the field. His vision isn't the best, but it's definitely more than sufficient. Will be good in the NFL. And he's also a good receiving back. Definitely not like the vision, not the best receiving back, but he's got capability to be a 3-down back with his receiving skills. Is he the most refined running back in this class? No. But he is going to be very good at the next level. Ramondre Stevenson, his contract is up after this next year. Antonio Gibson also signed on a 1-year deal. He's not really a franchise running back anyway, so if you want to move on from Ramondre Stevenson, here's the guy to do it with. Now, we traded our 3rd round pick to move up and grab Joe Alt. But moving on to round 4, we have three picks in the 4th round. At 103 overall, we grab center Bo Limmer out of Arkansas. David Andrews on the brink of retirement. Limmer seems like the guy that can replace him. He's very smart. He stays engaged on blocks. He can get to the second level well. He's got the quickness to get there and athletic ability to get there. But he does have trouble in staying engaged with blocks once he gets to the second level. And definitely needs some tuning with his technique. His balance is often off, and and he finds himself leaning over a lot. But his side to side movement to me seemed pretty good. And when he has his hands on you, you're not going anywhere. He drops his anchor well and does a really good job in passing blocking. As far as our scheme, it's probably going to be an outside zone running scheme, which I think he can fit into well. He moves well enough laterally where he could do well in our scheme. Now, moving forward to round 4, pick 108, we finally get some help on defense with Mason Smith, defensive tackle out of LSU. Mason is 6'5" and 305 pounds. Most impressively, he's got 35-inch arms. Now, maybe tackles have that length, but very rarely do you find interior linemen that have 35-inch arms. So, the way he plays, he's going to be an interior lineman. I think maybe could play on the end, but I see him playing 90% of snaps on the inside. What he has at his advantage, though, is his size and, again, his arm length. He's going to be able to shed blocks very well. He's going to eat double teams with his big frame, and that's about it. But what more can you ask from a 4th round pick defensive tackle? He's not going to get to the quarterback often, but if he learns how to extend his arms very well, there's capability for him to learn, a pass rush move or two to get in the backfield. His ceiling isn't extremely high, but there is room for growth, and he has a high floor, I believe, with the ability to eat up blocks and contain the run on the inside. Moving on to round 4, pick 126. This is the pick that we received from the Packers for moving back. Had to get a quarterback at some point, right? Well, here, a little bit of a reach. We take Jordan Travis out of Florida State University. Jordan was performing very well, was a Heisman candidate for a lot of the season. Not towards the top of the list, but nonetheless was in the talks. He's undersized definitely at 6'1", 200 pounds, and he's a great leader. I think that was his best trait, honestly, was the intangibles. And he would have led his team to the college football playoffs. Unfortunately, suffered a bad injury, fracturing his leg at the end of the season. And if anything for Jordan, the committee kept FSU out because he was injured. They continued to win. They stayed undefeated, but they were not the same team as when Jordan Travis was playing. So if that just goes to show you how important he is to the team. He's got good vision, and his arm strength is adequate, I would say. Nothing crazy. He is athletic, though. He can scramble around. He ran a 40 in like the 4.6, 4.7 range. Got good speed. And he has the ability to make different throws, whether he's got to sling the ball into a tight window or loft it over a linebacker across the middle. He can do that. Just kind of like Jaden Daniels, just not as good as Jaden Daniels. His trouble comes with going through his progressions a little slow. He could be more refined in that area. And sometimes he lets his abilities get the best of him and will force throws and make bad plays through that way. But he has potential. So the Patriots take a flyer on him in the 4th round. see if they can develop him, and go from there. In the 5th round, we go back to the defensive side of the ball and take Nehemiah Pritchett, cornerback out of Auburn. He had some trouble at times this year, but showed promise that he could really contribute to an NFL roster. He stands at 6 feet tall, 190 pounds, so definitely needs to put on some more weight, because if he's pressed against a big wide receiver, they're going to just toy with him and have their way with him. However, where he lacks size, he makes up in speed. He ran a 4.36 40-yard dash at the officially, and he has some versatility to him. He can play both zone and man. He has good hip flexibility, which allows him to play both zone and man. He's got good hand placement in press coverage and knows how to stick with a wide receiver. But as far as zone goes, he will give too much cushion sometimes, and let up some easy routes for wide receivers in his zone responsible area. Now, he can make up for this again with his speed. He closes out fast, so not too big of an issue. Definitely can be fixed at the next level. Aside from that, something that's just mental that's tough to fix in cornerbacks is he's not a willing tackler. He's got poor form on top of that. You can teach form, but you can't force a guy to go out there and hit. That's up here, and it's tough to fix. I don't even think it really is fixable in my opinion. But luckily with cornerbacks, they can get away with that and have solid careers not being a willing tackler. In round 6, we get some depth on the edge. Draft Jalen Harrell out of Michigan. Now, Harrell, very talented, not the ideal size for an edge rusher. He's not small. He's 6'4", 250 pounds, but ideally you're looking for a couple more inches, and then about 20 pounds more, I would say, on your prototypical edge rusher. He is one-dimensional as a speed rusher, very fast. It's actually very impressive how fast he is and how quick he gets out of his stance. And he loves contact. He will not shy away from hitting. Now, he needs to refine his technique. Not the best, definitely. That's why he's falling this low. Again, being one-dimensional and needing some technical work. But he can contribute to the pass rush game on third down when it's a clear passing play. He can contribute and get to the quarterback. Where this is an advantage for him is if he's going against right tackles who are a little slower, he can get around them. If he wants to be a top end rusher, he needs to get some more moves, gain a little bit more lower body strength, and he could be really good at pass rushing. Besides that, in the run game, he needs to learn how to contain better. His technique, again, in the run game has some room for improvement. He oftentimes, I noticed, will cut inside for trying to get to the backfield instead of staying on the outside for containment. And luckily, there was no big plays that broke from what I saw with him losing contain. But that is an issue. Coaches will see that and execute on it. So there's definitely some room for growth, but could be a solid contributor to the team at the next level. Now, this is the pick that we got in the Mac Jones trade, round 6, pick 193. And here we take a tight end, Tip Raymond, out of Illinois. Now, the Patriots re-signed Hunter Henry. They signed Austin Hooper, 2 receiving tight ends. They let Farrell Brown walk. He went to Seattle. So you need a third string tight end that's going to be a solid blocker. Well, Raymond is the best one in the draft. He's 6'5", 270 pounds. I mean, that's borderline tackle size. He loves to run block, and I saw a lot of impressive blocks where he was moving defensive linemen 2-3 yards downfield. He doesn't always just turn a defender for the running back to get by. He will block you fully back at 2-3 yards. It's impressive stuff. Besides from that, he does have upside as a pass catcher. He's a decent route runner, definitely not the best, but he can be a solid option when all else fails. If you give him the ball, he's got good hands. His downfall is he's not that athletic. He's got tight hips, so he can't move very well. He's not that shifty, but again, a guy that likes to lower his shoulder and fight for extra yards. He can be a solid pass catcher. Never going to be a Pro Bowl caliber tight end, but can be very solid and should have a good NFL career just based off of his blocking ability by itself. So it comes down to our last pick in the draft, round 7, pick 231, and the Patriots go for a guy that's been flying under the radar because of where he went to school, but again, has potential to be a good player in the NFL. Maybe not a starter, but a contributor. This is C.J. Hansen, guard out of Holy Cross. Hansen, 6'5", 300 pounds. His technique is fair. It's not the best. It's definitely not the worst. But he does have a tendency to lean over. I mentioned that earlier with Joe Alt. It's definitely worse with Hansen, hence him being a 7th round pick. His athleticism can make up for it. It's pretty good, but he has the ability to get to the second level, and it's tough for him to stay engaged constantly, but he gets there. He's got the quickness, and in the passing game, is really good at dropping anchor. So as far as pass blocking, once he is engaged and sets his hands correctly, you're not going to get by him most of the time. That's it. Make some moves. Get some future picks. So if you want to move up and draft a quarterback next year or even the year after that, you got draft capital to do it. That's all. I don't mind this mock draft really. I personally would not trade out of the 3rd overall pick. I want to go quarterback there, but I think there is a realistic chance that Elliott Wolf decides to move back, get some more picks, and build and develop a better team for a rookie quarterback to walk into. I'm going to hit you guys with another mock draft right before the actual draft takes place. I believe it's April 25th it starts. So a couple days before that, I will give you my mock draft 3.0. Not much going on in football news, but I will be back next week with another show. Until then, guys, I'll catch you.